What's up, you guys? Welcome to my new video in which I discuss whether or not aliens are real. And to do this, I feel compelled to present my hair in a way that represents my feelings on life in general, which is this is the time of the night when my hair is just higher than my grades everywhere in school, higher than my standards, and definitely higher than my goals. But, anyways, do I think aliens are real? Well, as a logical, analytical, and just insert smart words that I just am lacking currently, it would be very absurd, lame, whack, lacking just wisdom, expertise in general for me to say that aliens are not real. I think aliens are real. Aliens exist. However, the real question is, do aliens exist in the manner that we perceive them and assume for them to be? Let me explain. So I feel like we have had encounters with aliens, but we just do not identify them as such. Like, have you ever been outside and you encounter an entity of some sort? Let it be up in the sky, let it be some kind of light that has a hue that you're not used to, or you see an animal in nature that is just mutated weird or something, and then you realize that nobody has a record of seeing this creature. Um, so maybe what we imagine aliens to be is not necessarily what aliens are meant to be. Because I guess people are expecting to, when we talk about aliens or when we see aliens, we like to think about creatures with non human features and um, something like in the movie Independence Day or Mars Attack. But those aliens still have a human element to them because their image was fabricated by a human. But apparently, allegedly, it is speculated that somewhere in the United States, it is reported that there's a place called Area 51 and that there are supposed to be subjects that are alien life forms. And of course, none of us who are going to be present in this stream, I doubt, um, have any access to that to say, yes, Zamri, it is true. I have been there, and oh my god, aliens look like this and that, and they have tentacles, and they have those big black eyes, and this and that. Yeah, you better believe it that it's real. So, I guess I'm going to treat this matter like I treat matters of the Bible. Because the events that are expressed in that book I cannot really perceive for myself and prove, I'm gonna be like, I'm just going to say that aliens exist because this universe is just too vast for me to just be like, hell nah, we are the only living beings here. And then people also keep discussing this theory, or is it a theory, or just let's say affirm that the earth is just flat. And I'm like, I don't think the earth is flat because let me tell you something. When I get on a plane, I can see the horizon sort of having a curve to it. And when I look up at the sky, it's like I don't see it as flat. Like when you look at your roof, you can see that it's like it has some element of flatness to it. But when you look up at the sky, it curves in a way, like a sphere does. And if you think about it, I know that I've mentioned this on another stream, but for those of you who were not present, the way that molecules are presented, it's like the sphere is the one geometric figure that seems to be really predominant on this world. So by logic, you want to say that aliens exist because the probability of them existing is far greater due to the vastness of the universe. And even though we have not observed the vastness of the universe, we know that it's pretty vast because we can observe that there are other planets that neighbor us, and within our planet, we haven't even fully discovered our planet. We haven't fully explored everything. Like, we keep discovering new creatures that really are not even that new. They just have been there the whole time, but we haven't had the mediums to go explore it. You know what I mean? So, what if during our expeditions to the moon, um, what if there have been aliens there, but we do not recognize them as living forms? Like, here on planet Earth, we our understanding of something that is alive is it can reproduce, and I forget the other things that make us declare that something is alive, but the the basic one is it can reproduce. So we think of something living as having a cell. Some creatures are multicellular, some are single cellular. So, what if we have seen aliens in Mars and the moon, but we just don't recognize them as such? We are expecting to see some kind of space rodent, some kind of space amphibian, serpent, reptile, whatever. But life forms in a piece of celestial body that doesn't have an atmosphere may look and manifest differently. So when it comes to aliens, I like to think of it also as these supposed flying objects, and let's call them UFOs. I have never had an encounter with any of that, so I'm going to have to be on the skeptics side. But say that I do encounter some flying disc that I just cannot identify. Of course, my immediate assumption, my immediate reaction is going to be, what the fuck is that? But also, I would try to find the logic behind it. If we, as humans, have been able to leave our atmosphere, leave our celestial body, what's to keep other living beings, what we know to be living, from coming over to our planet and exploring? Fortunately, if this has been happening, they have not had any um, aggression coming here that we know of. So nobody's trying to invade us. Like, if anything, humans are our own worst dangers. Like, we are the worst dangers to ourselves. So, you know, but but it's just really difficult for me to just be like, nah, we're by ourselves. Just because we haven't had any like direct communication with alien life doesn't mean that it's not there. In the same manner that just because we don't see air doesn't mean we're not breathing it, you know? So maybe there are aliens all around us, but we just don't perceive them as such, you know? Let me see what you guys are saying, because I'm just talking a lot of ish around here. The human race cannot be all there is. That would just be depressing. Exactly. Given how many planets there must be in the universe, the likelihood of Earth being the only one with intelligent life on it are statistically absurd. Yeah, because you know how depressing it would be that human intelligence is as intelligent as we get? No, no, no. There is definitely something superior out there. In the same manner that we are superior to something out there. Let's see. And you said exactly that just as I sent it. Yeah, 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 yeah. There is a curvature. If we removed all of the water, it would look like a lumpy, misshapen rock. I agree. We should explore more of the Earth and the Moon. I think aliens do exist, just not what we vision it. Oh, see? See? Just like I was saying. Look at tardigrades. What are tardigrades? These eight legged microscopic creatures, also known as water bears, are probably the hardiest animals in existence, able to live through extreme heat, cold pressure, radiation, and even space. Bullshit! That cockroach is the one animal that can take all of that pressure. Anyway, I think aliens are there just in another form. We are babies when it comes to science. Exactly. See, people think that we have like this incredible intelligence and this knowledge and everything and all right. It's true that we have advanced a lot in the last I don't know 100 years. But trust me, when it comes to innovation and everything, we could be so much better. But like I said, humans are their own worst enemies. So, what if someone out there who's not well known knows a lot already, knows much more than we as the general public know, but this information is not being shared because politics, money, conflicts, control, power. So, you know, I really think that if we just put all of our efforts and ideas and discoveries and plans and even thoughts together, we could really advance so much farther. Even the things that little kids say, they may say some ridiculous stuff, but they also have some wisdom behind them. So I feel like someone out there does have the answers to all this, or they just know much more than they're allowed to tell us and just share with us. So we can't even survive on the moon, yet we have aliens driving by like, meh, they are still flying over religion, fighting over religion. Let's come back in 50 billion years. Area 51 is important. See, you just triggered another thought, Dimitri, and that is what if our planet once belonged to an alien race, but they got bored? Or what if the Earth had better resources, but they were drained by aliens, and now we only have like the remainder, the scraps of what the Earth used to be? So our planet may not even be at its prime. It's just functioning on the leftovers of whatever goodies were left from a time period where it was rich in stuff. You know what I mean? So, say as the land masses moved and we had all these natural phenomena reshaping the planet and everything, what if another life inhabited Earth and they just completely took advantage of all that? And we are giving value and importance to things that are obsolete, like diamonds and rocks and everything. Um, we have the answer. Society just conditions us. I'm glad you brought up children because they are more in tune with themselves. I agree. I think we are left a leftover lab experiment. We are the true herd. And see, the thing about kids is that when they are born with their natural instinct of humaning. But we as a society, let me put this in a word, in a way that we can all understand. We are born wild. Wild is not acceptable. So we are trained to tone down our powers. We are trained to put our abilities to sleep so that we can fit in society that has gone soft. And like I made 2 videos I gone ago, have become little bitches about something as unimportant as hair. So you see, how can a society that's concerned about how your hair grows going to figure out the mystery of alien life? See that? It's like we need to get our priorities straight, and that's the way that we're going to progress as a species. So, with kids, naturally, they just want to run around, they want to play, they want to climb things, they want to even murder something just for the hell of it. Um, like when I was a kid, I was evil. One time, there was this bird that had a nest somewhere in my garage. I think I had like a shelf of some sort. I know that it was over something. And I saw the eggs and I'm like, these feel different to the eggs that I'm used to eating for breakfast. What would happen if I break one? Thunk! I dropped one on the floor. It cracked, it was yellow and everything. But then when I thought about it, I'm like, holy fuck, I just murdered a bird's child. You know? How terrible of me. But I wasn't thinking about it because as a child, I'm not thinking about ethics or morals. I'm not thinking about it is terrible to murder another living being's child. I'm just thinking about I normally eat something like this, but the ones that I eat are bigger and heavier and stuff. So, what does this look like? Bam. See, my behavior, someone else thought like me. And that's how they discovered that you could fucking eat eggs. You know, someone had to mess with a cow for us to get milk. Thanks to that dirty, what we consider dirty mind of someone else, we were able to progress. Someone needed to have the guts to be like, this doesn't look nice. This doesn't, this is not a gentleman way of behaving, nor this is the lady way of behaving, but we have to try things and experiment things so that we make discoveries. So, me breaking that egg as a kid, I felt terrible years later. When I started thinking about it, I'm like, oh my, what if it was my cat? Let's say that my cat was female and was expecting, and then it gives birth and someone steals one of the baby cats. I'm gonna be mad because I'm like, you're causing my cat some suffering. She just gave birth and you stole one of her children. She's gonna be depressed thanks to you. But at the same time, if I were a kid, I wouldn't think about that. I would think of it as someone just earned a pet. Someone just got themselves a pet. So, see, so that's why, back to aliens, what if, say, children, what if they have discovered an alien, but they try to say it, tell their parents something, but their parents are like, what do you know? You're just a kid. You're just beginning to learn. So you cannot tell me about what goes out in nature. So maybe if we had our original powers from the time when we are born, as opposed to being, uh, what is it called? Conditioned by society to behave a certain way, maybe as a species we would be so much more advanced, but we are not allowing ourselves to because we're too worried about making companies happy, making money for companies, and just not exploring earth the way we're meant to. And not only that, but the space program, it's been at risk of disappearing many times. Like it it had its funding cut after, was it the Challenger disaster, and it had a threat again after the Columbia disaster. So you see, why would someone want to cut the funding on something that is aiding us at understanding the universe a little better? So it almost sounds like you want to cut funding from something because you're discovering too many truths that if the word got out there, people would not be easy to control anymore. Let's see what you're saying. Adults are scared and close minded. This is random, but I remember cracking an egg open as a child and it was a baby chicken. That is so messed up. But you know what? I feel like I had a friend do that too, and I saw some of that. Um, because I do remember seeing a baby chicken. Like, doesn't it look pink or something? And its wings are like they look like a tiny hook of some sort. Like, of course, there's no feathers to them. But yeah, I do feel like I saw that one time. But I promise you, the one and only egg that I broke, it was completely yellow liquid that came out of it. There was like no cadaver in front of me, like no infant. So that's why I'm not traumatized by this experience. But had I seen an MF chicken lying there on my sidewalk, yeah, no, yeah, I would have remorse from it. Um, I agree. Someone had to have the guts to pave the way. I feel people want to be comfortable. What if aliens are already here? I think we are a mixture of something else. What if you're an alien? Ollie, what if you're an alien? Some used to say we could speak and understand each other without actually speaking. They say we only use 10% of our brains. See, with the 10% of our brain thing, how is that possible? Because I feel like you definitely need to be able to use more than 10% of your brain to do all the things that you can. Like, how much percentage of the brain are you using to not die when you go to sleep? What percentage of your brain are you using to breathe automatically? What percentage of your brain are you using to formulate coherent sentences? What percentage of your brain are you using when you're driving to be able to multitask driving the car, like the physical act of driving the car, and also being aware of traffic and stuff like that? Um, so, also when you're asleep and you're healing and resting and recovering, what percentage of your brain is that? So, yeah, I've never believed in that 10% thing. I think someone did that, pulled that out of their rear just to sound smart in some way and make us sound impressive. Maybe, maybe that 10% number came to existence as a massive inferiority complex because it's like, if you feel like you've reached the limits of your potential and intellect, just remember that you're only using 10% of your brain. Therefore, there is so much more for you to uncover. So, my child, please do not be frustrated. I was not born yesterday, believe it or not. We wouldn't have the tech if it wasn't for NASA and science. People do eat embryos. I know too much. You should do a series on weird foods. I've thought about it. Curses! Exposed again! Oh, the 10% of the brain thing was never true. There's no part of your brain that is never in use. This goes to neural networks. They even talked about how UFOs can be controlled by the brain, like moving the ship around. I agree, they lie. When it comes to the speaking a language at some point without speaking words, why would people invest so much time and effort into educating us on how you should study how people behave non-verbally? Like, you ever read something that says human communication, really the most vital aspect is the non-verbal communication? Why would someone talk about something that they didn't even know existed? How do you know that you can communicate with your body? So that could be what proves that at some point we did not need spoken language. Because how it has to be an instinct It has to be an innate thing for you to understand that someone's facial expression can say a lot, although it's not words. We train to communicate using language, using words. So, say if I would have been born in a different country, I would not be able to communicate with you guys right now. But at the same time, if you did communicate with me or discover me speaking in a different language, you might be intrigued by the kinds of mannerisms that I display. And from those mannerisms, you may be able to just have a slight idea, at least, of what I'm saying. So, how would a person who has no understanding, no awareness of the concept of nonverbal be able to pick that up? Let's see, what else did you say? Oh, controlling stuff with the brain. I wanted to make a video on, do I believe in kinesthetic powers? No, telekinesis, telepathic powers. Anyways, all of that. Basically, using your brain to communicate and using your mind to like move shit. I'll go ahead and just say it here, and if I have anything substantial to add, then I'll make it a separate video. But I don't find it too far fetched or too unbelievable for us to be able to do stuff just with our minds. Because, um, you know how when someone loses an arm, it's like suddenly they gain a new superpower with their remaining limbs? You know how if you go blind, you suddenly have amazing hearing or amazing sense of smell? What's to keep you from being paralyzed and you need to survive? Movement is what makes your survivability, whatever I'm trying to say, a thing. So if you're paralyzed, I don't think you have to be condemned to die. There has to be a way for you to be able to just fend for yourself. Because being paralyzed does not automatically mean that you have to die. Like your organs are still functioning. So, in a situation like that, your body will come up with something to make up for the loss of your other abilities to ensure your survival. So, although we only see this in movies, I don't think that we think of that as magic, something fictional, but I genuinely think that with your mind you can do a whole lot because how can I say this? Your mind is not something that you can see, it's not something that you can weigh, it's not something that you can touch or hold. It's just there. Where does your mind come from? How does your mind turn into what it is? If it's something that's not palpable, like touchable. Just because you can't touch it doesn't mean it's not there. So, how about telekinetic powers? Just because you don't know how to do it doesn't mean that it's impossible. Like, I can't do a backflip, but it doesn't mean that no other human can. So, there are people out there who are really in tune with the environment. And I know that my grandparents were like that. Like, with no education, no books, no guides, my grandparents could tell when one of their, let's say, sheep was bringing a bad product, as in, this baby is going to be deformed, or, it's going to be a sick product of some sort. My grandparents could also just tell um, when something was going around in nature based on how birds would sing or not. and it's like, oh yeah, there's a new creature lurking around, so we need to be careful or something. Just because I cannot interpret nature like my grandparents could doesn't mean that it was impossible. So when we were a less advanced version of ourselves, when we were more primitive, how did we survive? How were we able to suddenly become the top being on the pyramid? Or are we at the top of the pyramid, like the food chain? You know what I mean? So just because nothing is currently hunting us doesn't mean that nothing out there is trying to hunt us. It's just that we have made our environment um, treacherous for other creatures to be interested in crossing it. You know? I'm kind of glad no one has worked out telepathy. That would be awkward for everyone. Yeah, Ollie, I know what you were thinking. I absolutely know what you were thinking. How dare you? How crazy of you. Where your vlogs at? That's the real question here. But anyways, um, but yeah, you're right. Ollie, you just made me think of something. What if telepathy was a thing of the past, but it became so crazy and dangerous and awkward? People were gaining too much power over one another that they had to ban it, and they had to actively educate people on making them focus on something else so that they forget that they have their telepathic powers. You know, evolution makes you hone some skills. So, what if telepathy was something that was threatening our existence? As a result, it became imperative that we forget about our telepathic powers or telekinetic powers. So, it's like little by little we've been evolving, because I hear that we had to evolve for our hands and feet to look wrinkly as hell whenever they're underwater, for you to have like a better grip underwater or something. At some point we did not have that ability, so our body discovered that that was a flaw. So as time passed and we kept reproducing, our DNA had to keep changing to adapt to all that, because we were becoming dependent on some aquatic products. So that had to become a thing. How did nature get that idea? You had to experiment, you had to discover that in order for that change to come about. So, so yeah, I think you are the available elements around you. It goes back to what we see. Aliens is not what other aliens will see us. We evolved as we speak. I call it earthing. We was more grounded with ourselves. I tell people playing in the dirt, walking with no shoes is important. We are one with the universe in our own way, but not fully. And see, speaking of shoes and everything, at some point we did not need shoes. Like, walking on the ground did not hurt us, but we evolved to need shoes because we created them, and our feet just were not as tolerant of the very ground that we walked on anymore. But then again, the ground, I am sure, was far more grassier than it is now. So, we haven't evolved to be able to like run and walk on pavement and being chill about it. Science is everything, electrons is key. We are what we can't see but can see. See? Electrons, power, electricity, charges. Just because we don't see it doesn't mean it's not there. I effing hate winter when it comes to static. Just because I can't see it doesn't mean that it's not there. Okay, that's not real metal. So, but yeah, like, if I could anticipate that I'm charged, I wouldn't touch metallic surfaces without bracing myself. But when I'm at work, I'm always touching something that shocks me and I can see the sparks. So, you know, we even hold electricity and resistance. You know what else holds electricity? Pikachu. Um, let's see. You said something else that I wanted to go over. But anyways, in conclusion, um, what I was trying to say is with powers that maybe we had that are just gone. Yeah, I really do believe that at some point we had those powers, but they became a threat to our very existence. So the people in power, or whoever's responsible for our education and all that, they were actively trying to wipe that away from our memories, from our existence. So, the X-Men movies and, all these mutant movies that occasionally showcast someone with those powers. Where did the director get the idea from that? That has to be some kind of divine intervention or some kind of something from the past triggered that, because okay, I understand that our imagination has no limits and it's vast and you can accomplish anything with your imagination. But where did that inspiration come from? So, what if the people who invented these mutants that have those superpowers, what if they come from the lineage of people who back in the good old days they had those powers? So suddenly in a dream they come up with this idea that's not even an original idea. It's something that used to be there, but we just lost it. It's like just because the twin towers are no longer in New York doesn't mean they weren't there. And the world as we know it today is not how it's always been, Like the roads needed to be made, they needed to be paved. Deforestation needed to happen in order for us to have space to build the houses we're in and all that. Someone had to think about the car, someone had to think about everything. Like correcting vision. Someone was like, yeah, I'm tired of not being able to see jack shit from a distance, but I know it's possible to see from a distance because other people can do it. Why can I not see from far away? How can I enhance my vision? And that's how glasses came about. You know? So if you're a person who has the privilege of having perfect vision, which I did until I was 12 years old, um, that's something you're not thinking about. I could see clearly, but I could not understand nor relate to the people who could not see clearly. I'm like, why are you wearing those things on your face? Um, why do they make your eyes look bigger or smaller? you know? And then until it happened to me, I could not relate or understand what it was like to not see clearly. So, you know, so aliens definitely have to be a real thing because um, we ourselves have things that we do not understand, things that we don't explain, and they don't seem to be part of this world. So they had to come from somewhere. The planet had to come from something. So where is that something? Where is that somewhere? So I think some things hinder us and we are not alone. And because things hinder us is because evolution exists. And I am lagging. All I want is to not lose my reception. It came from somewhere while we are living in idiocracy. You should check out astral projection, which is a term used in esotericism. Wait, esotericism to describe a willful out of body experience, a supposed form of telepathy. Dude, hook me up. I want to try that shit. I think we lost ourselves, and children are the way. I think children are really the solution to like solving the world's problems because to me, most children are woke from the moment they are born. So, so yeah, This is why I love engineering. Haha, random thing. I faced an electric fence as a child. Marvel has always been very deep. It touched on many things. Have you ever woke up in the middle of the night but couldn't move? Ah, isn't that called like sleep paralysis? Um, I can't say that that's happened to me. But I have heard of people's stories about that. No, I'm trying to remember. As a kid, a lot of weird things happened to me. But I hear that sometimes you can just wake up in the middle of the night and you try to move and it's frightening because you just cannot. Um, Interesting. I would have never guessed that about you. I really thought that that was a super incredibly rare thing. Um, I guess the only time that I felt like I couldn't move was as a kid. If there was a really, really bad thunderstorm, I would see the flash. And you know how, as the storm rolls in, that interval between the flash and the sound of the thunder from the lightning, um, the gap sort of like decreases. Well, I had a good internal timer about that. So when I would see the flash, to me the sound of thunder was such a overwhelming sound that even though I covered my ears and my chest, I would feel like this pain of being scared and frightened because loud noises just do that to you. So I was not necessarily paralyzed because, like I said, I was able to cover my ears, but sometimes the flashes would cast some weird shadows that would kind of frighten me because I'm like, what is that shadow? What is that? I don't recognize that figure in my room. Where's that coming from? So it would scare me to the point that when I'm really, really, really scared about something, I just don't move. So I cannot say that physically I was paralyzed. Um, and it cannot be sleep paralysis because there was just no effing way that I could sleep through a thunderstorm. But but although I don't suffer from that, I can imagine how terrifying that must be because you are finding yourself in a very vulnerable spot and you don't know how long it lasts. It could be a minute, 30 minutes, an hour. So, also, as a responsible person, if this were to happen to me on one of those mornings when I have to go to work, it's like when I wake up, I give myself exactly the proper time that I need to be ready and leave. So, a delay like that would mean that I would need to give myself like an extra 2 hours just in case life goes wrong at the last minute. So, you know, what if our bodies are just a shell? You know, like enemy ghost in the shell. What if we are not even here? Never know. I think we are controlled or watched by something you never know. We need science to get on board for real. I think the government is hiding a lot, weather, food, aliens, etc. Well, um, on the note of your body being a shell, I know that you're not a religious person, but you know how a moment ago I was talking about how you cannot measure your mind or weigh it, but yet it's there? Well, what if your body is the encasing of your mind? You know, y- your body is like layers. You have the skin, beneath the skin, you have like the circulatory system, beneath the circulatory system, or wrapping or the circulatory system wraps around your skeletal system. All of these components are necessary to make you a living being in your species. Like as humans, the way we manifest is we walk upright and we're able to turn our heads and all that good stuff. You need your all of those body systems to work together to make those processes possible. But what makes the process of your mind possible? Like, okay, your brain, your nervous system. But what about your nervous system gives you your personality, gives you your ideas, gives you your imagination? What do we owe that to? What is that attributed to? So when you put it like that, like I think the body is just a shell, it makes sense. Maybe your soul, your spirit, your mind is enclosed inside of this body. But what is it? Is it a nerve? Is it some weird muscle? like, you know, so that's what makes it so difficult for me, cuz I'm like alien life probably has the answer to all of this. I think we are complex worms. Well, what if our blood vessels are those worms? No lie, think about it. No, like I'm not dismissing anything. You guys throw at me your opinions, your thoughts. But seriously, that is a great way for you to put it. Like our bodies being a shell. I never really looked at it that way. I only looked at it as okay, my body is what it is, and it's only serving to like carry my soul. But what is my mind? What is my soul? What is all that stuff that we mentioned that we cannot measure nor see, but it's there? How do we explain that? Aliens give us the answer. Can you imagine? Imagine an alien being alive right now and somehow it escapes into the public and it encounters people and like what language would this alien speak? Maybe it doesn't even need a language. Maybe it has like Independence Day intense shit where, you know, put your tentacles around someone and you make him talk. Like, no, 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 I'm done. I'm done. Yeah, but see what I'm saying? We are just not advanced enough as a species. We think we're intelligent, we think we have everything figured out, but we have no effing idea. No idea. Oh, I have some crazy videos you should watch. Yeah, it would be possible. So, see, what are we doing with our time, man? Um we're just wasting too much time. But at the same time, I feel like if we're wasting time, it's because we're a victim. We're victims to the system. We have to sleep, get up, work for somebody, make barely enough to live. We are worked to death. Like when I get out of work, I'm just too tired. I'm too tired to be thinking about anything. Sometimes I have to force myself to vlog because I'm so tired, but I'm determined to keep the show running because this to me is incredibly important. Like, I don't write anymore, I don't journal anymore. So, if I don't do this, my thoughts will keep me up at night? So, so maybe that's the agenda. Like, the idea is to keep you tired as hell so that when you're tired, you don't think as clearly. When you don't think as clearly, your perception of what's urgent and important is just not there anymore. So, our potential as humans cannot be reached or expanded because we cannot focus on it because we are being drugged through our food, we are being poisoned. So, we're not functioning at our maximum. So, maybe that's why we cannot even identify aliens amongst us. They may be super obvious around us, but we can't recognize it because our senses are, you know, out of function. We need to eat more sandwiches and learn. This is why the brightest minds get paid or offered good money. It's not saying others are dumb, but the government is so anti government and don't want the hive mind effect. The government is so anti-government and they don't want the collective to think. Exactly. Yeah, no, they don't want you to be smart. They don't want you to be intelligent because that makes you harder to be subjugated and controlled. It's all about complacency. They don't want us to go rogue because there is strength amongst others. We live in the damn matrix. I told you about my past history. But yeah, you guys, at the end of the day, aliens are real. We just cannot like identify it as such. Some of it, it's like aliens must have different species, just like humans are a different species from like cats and dogs and everything. Um, like like they're aliens do not necessarily need to have the body of animals as we know it, the body of living beings as we know it. Shoot, what if they are particles in the very air that we breathe? You know, we have bacteria, those are living beings. But just because we can't see them doesn't mean they're not there, doesn't mean that they're not alive, doesn't mean that they can't reproduce. They just manifest differently. Viruses, they say that viruses are not alive, excuse me. What makes viruses not be alive? What if viruses are aliens? You know? So, I don't know. This is one of those things that because you don't have the answers to those questions, you can just keep going and going. And your mind keeps coming up with crazy things because you want answers. So, anyways, I just encourage everybody to use your time wisely, always be curious, and try to answer your questions and maintain yourself busy and intrigued. And as much as you can, try to not allow yourself to be subjugated or controlled. Try to eat well as much as you can. Try to be active and don't watch so much TV or don't watch any TV. So, and I guess the internet is probably worse than TV because you can have access to so much misleading information, but you can also have access to great information. So, yeah, just use your time wisely, use your common sense. Just trust it. If your gut tells you that there's aliens out there, trust it because my gut has never let me down. So, anyways, you guys, I feel like I have said everything that I wanted to say on this matter. It's interesting because there is so much more to expand on little by little, but I think this is a good intro to the matter, to the topic. So, I have never had any alien encounters. I don't think I've ever been abducted by a damn alien because I remember having seen my mom every single day of my life unless I was traveling. um, I also have not seen any objects that I cannot really explain. Like maybe if I see something the first time and I don't recognize it, it's either there's poor lighting or the weather is terrible or it's been dilapidated one way or another. um, so, but I cannot say that I have had any weird encounters or weird experiences. Usually, I get answers to all of my questions immediately. So, so do I believe in alien abduction stories? I'm not gonna lie. I normally don't because how can these people prove their experience? And those videos where there's like a fucking cow being sucked up by the clouds or something, I don't believe that. That must have been taken from a movie or that was footage that they were trying to throw into a movie. But once again, because I don't understand it, I cannot accept it as a thing that happens as an answer, you know? So maybe if I were to read of abductions on like a history book, then all right. But there's really no official written convincing record of it, you know? So that's what makes me be like, oh, no, not real. All right, guys. I think I'm done here. Um, yeah, thanks so much for tuning in and for sharing your thoughts and opinions. I definitely enjoyed this discussion. If I think of something substantial to add, then I guess I can make a part two to this. I feel like a part two is imminent in the future, but for right now, I feel like I have said everything that I wanted to say. Thanks so much for tuning in and have a great night. This means that you are agnostic. Boy, bye. That is no secret. I have expressed that in the past. But yeah, I feel like I said that on my spirituality video. So, anyways, bye.